Hi everyone, welcome back to Curious Minds. I'm Mukesh, and in today's video I'm going to talk about the Treaty NAFTA Professional Visa, more commonly known as the TN Visa. The reason why I'm making this video now, even though many of the viewers of this channel are in their very early stages of getting a Canadian PR, is to help you visualize the benefits of getting a Canadian PR and ultimately a Canadian citizenship. And one of the benefits is that you open another easier way to work in the US if you choose to do so. Now, for a moment, let's assume, and I don't know why this would happen, but let's assume that after getting your Canadian PR, your professional career in Canada didn't take off as you had expected, or you simply found a better job opportunity in the US. Now, in this case, you can easily get your TN visa status approved for the US as a Canadian citizen. And just so I am clear, you will be eligible for TN visa status only after becoming a Canadian citizen and not with a Canadian PR. Becoming a Canadian citizen takes approximately 4 years after you immigrate to Canada on a permanent residency. So if you are a Canadian citizen who would like to work in the US, or you are simply trying to explore your options to work in the US after you become a Canadian citizen, then keep on watching this video. And if you find value in this video, please like and share this video and consider subscribing to our channel. TN visa is a special non-immigrant visa classification in the United States that offers expedited work authorization to a citizen of Canada or a Mexican national under the provisions of the North American Free Trade Agreement, which mandates simplified entry and employment permissions for certain professionals amongst each of these three countries. Effective 1st of July 2020, the US-Mexico-Canada Agreement, also known as the USMCA, will replace the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA. A Canadian or a Mexican citizen with a job offer in certain defined professions and who also meet the minimum educational requirements for that profession can work in the United States under this visa category. Since Canadian citizens do not need a visa to enter the United States, they only need to obtain a TN status and not an actual visa, which is required for a Mexican national. I will post a link for the list of occupations which are listed under the NAFTA professions. These occupations includes and are not limited to accountants, engineers, lawyers, healthcare workers, scientists, teachers, etc. TN visa is categorized into TN1 for Canadian citizens and TN2 for Mexican nationals. Here in this video, I'll talk only about the TN1 status. Here are the basic requirements for the TN1 visa. Prospective TN1 visa applicants must be a Canadian citizen, have a US job offer in an eligible profession which requires someone with their professional skills. They must meet the educational or qualification requirements for the job. So for example, if your job requires a license to practice in a particular US state, you will need to have that professional license before you can qualify for this TN status. There are two ways to apply for a TN status, either by applying at the port of entry, which provides immediate approval, or by applying to the USCIS, which has a 2 to 6 months of processing time. The only real advantage of applying with the USCIS instead of applying at the port of entry is that you get a confirmed TN status before you start planning your trip and not be surprised if your TN visa status gets denied at the port of entry. Considering that the viewers of this channel have a good idea about how H-1B visa works, let's compare how TN visa stacks against the H-1B visa. The advantages of TN visa are, just like H-1B visa, TN visa is granted for a maximum of 3 years, but can continue to be renewed indefinitely without the need of an approved I-140 for the green card process. Unlike H-1B visa, TN visa can be applied for at the border with the United States and is usually granted immediately. The documents required and the procedure for TN visa is far easier than the H-1B visa. There's no annual cap and can be applied any time of the year. Thus, TN visa removes the uncertainty of the lottery system and the need to start work only on October 1st for first-time applicants. Low application fees of $50 when applying at the port of entry, or $620 for a TN petition, and USCIS filing fees when applying through the USCIS. The drawbacks of the TN visa are: TN visa is a non-immigrant visa, and hence pursuing a green card while applying for TN visa, either initial or renewal, would affect your approval chances for TN visa. If you want to apply for a green card, then it is recommended that you switch to H-1B visa. The number of occupations permitted to petition for TN status are a bit more limited than for the H-1B visa, but nevertheless covers a vast array of professions. Although technically this TN visa can be renewed indefinitely, the border agent might scrutinize you to justify the non-immigrant nature of your application after you keep renewing it forever. Having said that, I personally know a few people who have been on TN visa for more than a decade without ever being refused. Now here's the application procedure for TN visa. It is a fairly streamlined process if you are applying for a TN status at a US port of entry. The Canadian citizen will need to request TN status while providing the following documentation: proof of Canadian citizenship, a letter from prospective employer detailing items such as the professional capacity at which you'll work in the United States, the purpose of your employment, the length of your stay, and your educational qualifications, credential evaluations if applicable, and a fee of $50 US. When applying through the USCIS, the employer files a petition form I-129 with a filing fee of $460 US. TN status is granted for a maximum of 3 years, and you must seek an extension of stay either by filing the form I-129 with USCIS if you do not wish to leave the United States to renew the status, or you may depart the United States before the day your status expires, and then once outside United States you may apply at a CBP designated US port of entry or at the airport using the same application and documentation procedures required at the time of your initial application for admission as a TN non-immigrant. Now, dependents of TN visa. Your accompanying spouse or children under the age of 21 may be eligible for a TD non-immigrant status. Your spouse and children are not permitted to work in the United States but are permitted to study, and their TD status cannot be granted for a period longer than the primary applicant's TN status. So there you have it. TN visa gives you another way to work in the United States apart from H-1B visa if you are a Canadian citizen. I hope it gives additional motivation to some individuals who are still contemplating whether or not to apply for a Canadian PR due to perceived lesser job opportunities in Canada. By having an option of TN status as a Canadian citizen, you could choose to work in the United States in the future. That's it from today's video, and see you in the next one. Until then, have a wonderful day and stay curious.